The software allows you to create soil sampling datasets. These datasets can be based on traditional grid style patterns, or points can be manually added. When creating grid-based patterns, a polygon can be manually drawn to sample, or existing data, such as a soil survey map, can be used as a reference layer. In this tutorial, you will learn how to create soil sampling points, map the sampling dataset, and modify the soil sampling attributes. Create a new map or add a layer to an existing map that you intend to create soil sampling points for. From the File menu, select New, then Soil Sampling Layer, or click the new Soil Sampling Layer icon on the Mapping toolbar. You have several options for creating soil sampling points. Option 1 is to manually add points. Select the Add Sample Point tool and click on the map to add individual sample points. Manually adding points can be done at any time, even if you select to use one of the other methods to generate the soil sampling dataset for you. Option 2 is to use the Soil Sampling Wizard. Select the Create Samples tool and follow the steps in the wizard to create a sampling dataset. Option 3 is to select a region for sampling. Select the Sampling Region tool, draw a polygon around the region to generate samples for, and follow the wizard to create your sampling dataset. This video will show an example of using Option 2, using the wizard to generate samples. Go to the Map menu of the Soil Sampling Editor and choose Create Samples, or click the Create Samples icon. Select a layer or sublayer to base your regions on and click Next. This is very useful if you are sampling by soil type and allows you to select particular soil types from a layer to sample and generate points for. Now select the objects that you would like to sample and base the soil sample points on. Use the provided selection tools to make your object selections. Click Next once you have made your selections. Sampling parameters must now be set in order to generate the sample points. Enter an X and Y grid size to base the soil sample point spacing on. Then select a grid pattern that will determine where the sample points are placed in the grid cells that are created. You must also pick a grid start location that will be the site where the first sample point is placed, and a grid direction is needed to specify what direction points will be placed from the starting site. When creating sampling grids, you can also choose to merge any polygons or grids that appear around the outer edge of the field that are smaller than a set percentage of your entered dimensions. Click Next once all parameters have been set. A preview of the sampling grid and points that will be created will now appear. The grid and its points can be shifted left to right and up or down, or rotated 360 degrees about the grid center. Click the Reset button to reset the grid location to the starting position. Click the Finish button when you are ready to create the sample points and add them to the Soil Sampling Editor map. Now that you have generated the sample points, you may have many options for working with this new data. You can save the data into the management tree, export the data to one of the several available formats, or enter or import soil sample lab results for each of the sample sites. If you wish to edit the soil sampling attribute values, such as organic matter, then click on the Data Grid tab. A grid of the default soil sampling attributes will now be displayed with entries for each of the soil sample points that were created. You can either manually enter the values for each attribute, or you can import lab results from a text file. Once you have created your soil sampling data sets and made all desired changes, click the Save button to save this dataset into the management tree. After the new dataset has been saved to the management tree, you will see that by default, this new dataset was added to the currently mapped layer. You have now created soil sample points, mapped the new points, and entered soil sampling results. Please review the other tutorials to learn how to utilize other key features of the software.